Hello, today we're going to be working on a creative project, a collage project, creating flowers. The flowers we're going to work with are going to be abstract flowers. And first, I want to share with you some images of flowers. There are so many different kinds, and we see the petals, and the stem is behind there, the petals of the flower, and there's seeds inside the center parts. And here's the stems, and then there's leaves. We don't really see them in these pictures, but then there's also roots that dig and are connected to the ground and how the plants grow, receiving sun and water and dirt from the earth connected and cycling through the different elements to help the growth. And what do flowers start from? Seeds is right. So here are some seeds. Can you guess which seeds these are? If you said sunflower, you are right. These are sunflower seeds, and there's two different varieties. And so our plants start from seeds, and then they grow, being watered into flowers. And we're going to be creating an abstracted flower. These are some drawings that I've done, and we're going to be working towards creating our own abstracted collage flowers for today. And here is a sample, and we're going to be using mostly organic shapes to create our flowers, and our stems are a little more geometric, but we're going to be cutting things out. You're going to get you want to start with a square sheet of paper, and I'm going to put this on a background so it's more visible. So you want to pick a color for your background. And then we want to start creating our flowers. So what you'll do is you're going to get some different squares, and you can decide which colors you'd like to use for your flowers. There's also some other fun shapes, and these are more geometric shapes, right? Squares and circles. We have a variety of sizes, and then we've got smaller squares and some long rectangles. What could the long rectangles be used for? Those could be the stems, right? So we're going to have a variety of flowers. You could make it a variety, or you can make them the same. If your stem is very long, you can cut them in half. And we're going to clear our white paper so we have that, and then have our shapes nearby to be able to start to collage and arrange our flowers. So what I'll do first is get my stems in order, and I've got a glue stick. You can also use white glue, especially for some of the flowers that might pop up. And so we've got our different stems, and if you want to change the sizes, you can just cut a little bit off and make some a little bit shorter, some a little bit longer. I think I want the longer one in the middle. I'm going to just start to arrange them. There are some stencils that you can trace over and just make or have your own, go ahead and trace it with a pencil and then cut it out. You can also choose to draw and make your own flowers. So if you want to draw your own, you can do that as well. And then you can cut out your shapes. And I always say just because you drew it one way doesn't mean you have to cut it that way. I can make this bigger or smaller. You can edit as you go along. And that's what I did. I just left that little part out. And I'm going to cut as I'm editing and creating as I go along. So now I've got my tulip. I'll decide where I'm going to put that, but for now I'll just leave it there. Can always use some of these scraps later for the ground or other areas. It's up to you. Can also use some yarn. We have some yarn scraps. I kind of wonder if I would like to make a flower, a spiraled kind of flower with spiraling yarn and yarn painting. I love yarn and the texture and feel of it. So something to play with and an idea. You can also have a center point, like the center part of the flower, by putting one of the circle shapes in the middle, and then, or a square, however you'd like, but then you can cut petals around the flower. I'd like a smaller one, so I'm going to look. There we go. And let's see. Might pick a different color. So making decisions. I like that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut That's kind of fun. It's pretty square. So if you want to keep it square, leave it there. If you want to change it up, like round it, you can cut it around, but that, I like that. I'm just going to arrange this a little bit differently and just see if I want to maybe put that in the middle. And then this one on the end. And this one maybe a little bit lower. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm just rounding the corners, and I'm just cutting a little bit of that corner off. So it's just a little triangle that as I turn, I'm cutting. And I'm just making this a little bit smaller. Rounding it a little bit. And then what I'd like to do is I'm thinking a little bit more of like a sunflower type flower. Those big yellow leaves. And if you don't have round shapes with patterns at home, you can just use construction paper and cut out circles for your center point. You could also draw patterns and designs in the center. So that's another thing you can do. You can draw this first and then cut it out as well. So I'll try to move some things around again and see what I prefer. And I like that. So that one's very different than like this one, right? This one's a little more 3D and popping out. And the way I made that was by taking a square piece and just cutting towards the center, cutting around, just cutting these lines all the way around. So if you like that, you can do that. And the other thing you can do is actually cut out some of these spots in here. You can cut some of them off, just like we did with the sunflower. So we can cut some of these little pieces off, so we don't have as many. And that way we're able to see the shape more of this flower that we're creating. Yeah. So if you like that better, I actually think that it's a little funner because then you just get more texture, you get more shape. And there's not just one way to do things, so you can create a new way anytime. But these are some ideas, and you can come up with new ideas or create new ideas and new ways. There are limitless possibilities. So when you're happy with it, then you can work on bending, turning, curling even. You can curl some of these pieces. But so it was then bent and folded. So I'm going to go ahead and bend that. And I think I'm going to just bend it in half like that. Ooh, I like that. You can even bend it again if you want to fold it and then glue it down to make a flower. Or that way. So that on a stem is really nice. I think that stem is too thick. You could even use a yarn stem. That's pretty. So a little yarn stem. But so that's an idea for another flower. And then one more is where you take your paper and you can again cut off those corners So you're rounding your paper. It's not a lot of cutting, it's just trimming like that corner off and turning your paper while you're doing it. And now for this is like a spiral flower, like a spiral cut. So what I'm doing is I'm about to cut a circle, but instead of just a circle, I keep going and I round it, and I keep going around and around. So I get this spiral flower, and it's kind of like a rose. A rose has like a spiraling kind of thing that it does. And now what I'm going to do is cut just a little bit more on the inside, just a little thin layer. In order to be able to see this design even more. So there you can see it. And that could be another flower. Okay, so these are some different examples of flowers. And now what you want to do is get your green paper for your stem, or you could use anything you'd like. Green paper for a stem or green paper for the leaves. And there's multiple possibilities. Here are some leaves that have these little pieces that kind of cut out, almost like a grass effect. Here's some rounded leaves. So it's up to you how you'd like to do that. I found this cute pattern paper. I think it'd be fun to make a couple of leaves from this. So I'm cutting out the pieces. What you could do if you want two pieces to be the same, go ahead and fold your piece in half, and then you want to, when you cut one out, you'll be able to cut the other out as well. So I'm going to just cut out a leaf shape. And so here it is, and because I folded it, now I have two sides, so I can glue that down to my sunflower. And I can do that again with the other ones and use the same pattern, or I could use a different pattern, a different design, or no design at all. I could just use the green paper, green construction paper. So maybe for a smaller set of leaves, again, I had folded the paper in half, and now I'm just going to extend this up, put that on there. And I prefer that because I have this red flower right at the end, that maybe I'll try a different color paper for the background. And now I do have all of these other shapes like that I had cut out, so it's kind of fun sometimes to use those shapes as part of your collage, part of your art. And so I use some down here because I just like how funky it looks and how fun it looks to add some random shapes that were cut out. You could even add them to your flowers, on your stems, or on the petals and on the main flower. So these are some ideas to continue to embellish and add patterns to your flower if you'd like. So I'm going to try a different color background here just to see how that looks on the blue instead. I think I do actually like it on the brighter color. So you can change things out and decide what looks better for your background. Ooh, I kind of like how it pops on the black. That's nice too. So that's something you can decide, and then you can start gluing your pieces down as you get your leaves, your flowers, your stems all together. So I'm loving how this is coming out. I think it's pretty fun and exciting. And I hope you do too. Enjoy your project.